You have come to earth with a sole purpose. But for many, this purpose gets drowned out. It gets lost in the midst of all the noises coming from everyone with something to say about how you should live your life. But then something happens. It is called an awakening, a Kundalini awakening, and your life begins to fall apart. Kundalini awakening is one of the most powerful experiences that you will ever have in your life. But for many, this experience can be intense and painful. It is not that the energy of Kundalini itself is a painful, intense experience, that the energy itself is powerful. What's painful about it is that this awakened energy is now moving through all the resistance built up over years and years and years of living detached from our higher being, of living detached from our true soul purpose. Have you had a Kundalini awakening? Do you suspect that you have gone through a Kundalini energy explosion? Then how do you know if you have or haven't? Here are 7 signs that you have had a Kundalini awakening. And if you have not been through a Kundalini awakening, these are the signs to look out for. Your old life begins to fall apart because the Kundalini awakening is truly beginning to set you in line with your true purpose. Anything that isn't a match to it begins to disintegrate, fall apart, and be transformed. Oftentimes this can be experienced as a painful event or series of events. For some, it can even cause extreme physical and psychological symptoms, to the point where people will seek medical attention. If you are having a psychotic or psychological breakdown, this can be extremely alarming. But the difference between someone with a mental illness and someone going through a Kundalini awakening is that someone going through a Kundalini awakening ends up finding clarity and resolution. You feel an inner calling. This inner calling is the divine force of the Kundalini, the divine call of the sacred feminine to awaken you to a new existence. Though the call might be drowned out by other voices inside of your mind, that is part of your pre-programming, your old family, other people who have influenced you in your life for better or worse, this voice will still come in with a certain sense of clarity and power. It is not an ego call. It is different than an ego call, for it is a positive call towards transforming your life. Follow it. No matter how small the breadcrumbs are that it leaves for you, follow them, for they will lead to the next step, which is synchronicities. When we are experiencing a Kundalini awakening, and once we go through that most difficult phase of actually seeing our old world begin to disintegrate, and as we take the steps to move towards a new existence, to follow the steps of the Kundalini awakening, then we start to experience synchronicities. Synchronicities are those little gifts that we begin to get from the Kundalini awakening. It is in a way a sign to let us know that we are on the right path. However, the synchronicities can be very small. Sometimes it's those little things of waking up in the middle of the night, or it is seeing the consecutive numbers, especially 111 or 444 or 555, or any series of synchronous numbers. Whatever it is, follow these little steps. See where they lead you. Have a sense of ease and openness about it. Your old world begins to actually shed. So as Kundalini first moves into you and through you, and intertwines its powerful course of feminine and masculine energy through your chakras, you'll start to feel a challenge of the world as you knew it, And as you start to do the work, as you start to follow the steps, eventually your old world will begin to fall apart. It's like shedding of an all old skin and beginning of a new existence, beginning of a new experience. This might be relationships ending or the change of a life situation. Maybe where you are living, you get the call to move somewhere new, to start somewhere new, to get a new job. Whatever this is, even though it might feel a bit frightening in the beginning, there's still a sense of security and newness and confidence that becomes birthed. Even though this might be really buried deep within you, it is still there, like the flicker of a light, like the flicker of a candle, that no matter how tiny that light is, you feel it, you sense it, you see it, and it is powerful. Relief. This is the beginning stages of a Kundalini awakening truly starting to take root in our deep psyche. For when you experience the sense of relief, there is a sense of ease, like all this weight has been taken off your shoulders. Even though you might still be going through changes, you start to experience an unconditional kindness for yourself and the world around you. Empathy begins to really be born within you in a fresh new way. And your ego starts to fall apart. See, up until now, so much of the resistance and the pain that you felt was your ego. So identified with your old world, so identified with your old emotions and thought patterns. At this point, the weight falling off of you, the sense of lightness, is actually your ego realizing that it is not who you are. It is you realizing that you are actually more connected to your higher self than you are to the ego. The ego is simply an appendage of who you are. The sense of relief brings about it a sense of ease about life. You realize how hard you had worked to not really get that far off into life, and this is what's so frightening in the beginning of Kundalini awakening. But it is here that you realize a sense of ease, a sense of goodness, a sense of kindness, empathy, and a sense that you are so much closer to your higher being than you realize. And with it comes the next step. As your connection to your higher being strengthens and you find a sense of ease, from the sense of ease you find your true voice. Truly, you begin to express yourself in new ways. You find a sense of strength and confidence. You might also begin to explore creatively things that you've always been drawn to, maybe things from your childhood. In that, there's a sense of fun. There's a sense of spring in your step. There's a sense of joy that begins to emerge. And with that sense of expression, your communication begins to improve. Not just your communication in the outer sense with people around you, but your internal communication, the way that you speak to yourself begins to transform, because now you're speaking to yourself from your higher being. And because your higher being sees you unconditionally, with unconditional love, with unconditional kindness and empathy, that is how you begin to communicate with the world around you. And here's the beautiful part about this. As you begin to find this new voice within, it starts to express itself without. So your manifestations come to be so much more quickly. Anything that you want, because now it's not based about the things that you want because others have them in the outside sense, because what you are wanting now is coming from deep within. Which brings us to the next place. You start to find your soul purpose. When you find your soul purpose, everything about a Kundalini awakening is now not only embodied within, but begins to manifest fully without. Now you really start to feel integrated, not just in the world within, but also in the world without. You realize that you are also a creator. And you don't just realize this intellectually, you really realize it deep into your heart, into your full being, both as your physical being with your thoughts and emotions and a cosmic spiritual being. And as this happens, what you truly deeply desire within you from your soul comes to be so much more easily. People that you have wanted to meet for a long time start to show up, circumstances in your life. But above all, that sense of peace and joy is deep within you. That clarity that you don't need others to change to you is that you are so deeply changed without, and that is what matters most. And there isn't this sense of fear or scarcity. And when you do feel these feelings come up, for you're still grounded in this physical reality, there is a knowingness that kicks in. There's a sense of clarity that kicks in that you know, and that is the true confidence, not a boisterous, superficial confidence, but a true confidence in seeing your true spirit self now embody your physical self. Kundalini awakening truly is a powerful experience, and it is very easy to dismiss it as something superficial or to open up our Kundalini unintentionally. But as we go through the steps and as we realize what these steps are, we can really get to enjoy the experience, even though at times it might be frightening, even though at times it might be scary. If you experienced a Kundalini awakening, you are about to go through the most powerful internal, external shift that you have ever experienced. Happy awakening.